eyes had bored into Maud with an intensity that made Maud take an involuntary step backward. The two women had interpreted this as an invitation to come in, and before she knew it, they were standing in her hallway. Maud had automatically reverted to her best defense, the confused old lady. Unfortunately, she realized she wasn't wearing her fake hearing aids, which she used when she wanted to give the impression that she was particularly hard of hearing. At first, this made her feel anxious, but then she thought she could use it to her advantage, reinforcing the image of a slightly addled senior citizen. Why are you here? Has something happened?" she asked anxiously. Irene Huss had quickly reassured her. No, nothing new. Inspector Nystrom and I just wanted to talk to you again about the murder of the antique dealer William Frasin. He was found dead in your home, so we thought we'd check whether you'd remembered anything." "What? Dead? Who's dead?" Maud asked loudly. "Frasin, the antique dealer who was killed here." Maud didn't let her finish the sentence. On the verge of tears and with her voice breaking, she said, No, I can't even bring myself to think about that terrible—" Inspector Huss had smiled warmly. "Could we sit down for a quiet chat?" She sounded friendly, but Maud wasn't fooled. She found a handkerchief in the pocket of her bobbly green cardigan and dabbed at her eyes with a trembling hand. Sniffing quietly, she led them into the kitchen and gestured toward the 3 chairs around the small table. She didn't offer them anything to drink. She certainly didn't want them to feel welcome and stay longer than necessary. When they were all seated, Irene Huss cleared her throat and gazed steadily at Maud, who immediately brought the handkerchief up to her eyes once more. "It's been 4 months since Frasin was found in your father's smoking room," Irene began. "Gentleman's room. It's a gentleman's room," Maud muttered into her handkerchief. "Forgive me. Gentleman's room. If I can just run through what happened in August to refresh your memory. The whole building was covered in scaffolding and tarps because the facade was being renovated, which, of course, made things easier for the intruders. Frasin had an accomplice with him who climbed up the scaffolding and got into the gentleman's room through a window that had been left ajar. The accomplice then let Frasin in through the front door. The keys for the security lock are kept in a key cupboard in the hallway. The 2 men went straight to the gentleman's room and began to remove the silverware from a display cabinet, but for some reason they had an argument, and Frasin's accomplice attacked him from behind. Frasin was found lying face down with a significant wound to the back of his head. The weapon was beside his body, a poker that's usually kept next to the stove in the same room. He'd fallen onto the fender, and one of the pointed turrets had penetrated his eye and gone straight into his brain. According to the pathologist, death was instantaneous. It looked as if he and his accomplice had been in the process of stealing the silver collection. We found a bag containing a number of artifacts in the middle of the room. There was a large pool of blood from the victim's head injuries, and it was possible to make out the partial impression of a shoe. There were blood stains on the windowsill and on the planks outside the window, which suggests that the accomplice had both entered and left the apartment by that route. Presumably he panicked, since you assured us that nothing was missing. She fell silent and looked at Maud, who had spent the entire time dabbing at her eyes and nose. When there was no response, the inspector continued. "The accomplice appears to have gone up in smoke. We have no idea who he was." Maud's brain was working overtime. Had the police come up with fresh evidence? Had she missed something? Left traces of DNA, in spite of how careful she'd been? Best to keep quiet, wait and see. "Have you remembered when you opened the window in the gentleman's room?" "What?" Maud cupped a hand behind her ear.